headset off. I was just going to drive me mad. I'm only listening through the app now. All right, so the reason we're up here with Bitcoin versus Ethereum versus Raven versus Dynamo, which is a whole lot of stuff to talk about, and I'm glad that all the people who have joined. We're mainly talking about something I actually mentioned in my earlier podcast that I started for jabberelly.com is the kind of Bitcoin versus USD. Now I know that it's not listed in that list of 4 coins, but I want to make a point about this, that Ethereum and Raven and Dynamo, well, not Ethereum explicitly, but at least Raven and Dynamo, are not drastically changing. The price is changing because Bitcoin's USD value is changing, but Bitcoin itself has not changed. As we all would know, one Bitcoin is equal to 1 Bitcoin, as it has always been since it started, what, 13 years ago? And I think I wanted to make a point about this is that these values are staying even. I was actually examining not Raven explicitly, but Dynamo versus I think Doge and Tron, which I was also looking at recently, that their values are actually increasing over the value of Bitcoin if you watch them versus Bitcoin. So instead of watching a coin versus the US dollar of that coin according to whatever fiat says, they're actually going up over Bitcoin. In particular, because Dynamo and Raven are currently penny stocks, they're 2, 3, 4, 5 cents or whatever. Their values in Satoshis at least have gone up. I looked at Dynamo recently and it was at I think 275 Satoshis. I was looking again at Tron, which is also like a penny stock, or it's a penny value if you're looking at in USD fiat. Was at I think 330. I haven't looked at Raven, but I would guess it's probably around 100, 175. And of course, Ethereum's USD value is basically 1 or 5% of that of Bitcoin. But in general, if you're going to compare it to the one coin that we all trade against primarily and not out of the ecosystem of cryptocurrency, they're all staying at or above their Satoshi value. And I like to make that as a really good, important point to be made just across the board, that we should not be comparing our coins and looking at the market compared to US dollars or euros or rubles or yen, but compared to Bitcoin. And I'm not even personally a Bitcoin maximalist. In fact, I barely own any Bitcoin at all. But I want to make the point that is important, that the value of the coin should not be compared primarily against US dollars. I know the reason people do is because most of us pay bills in fiat. But for the promotion of the sake of the idea of cryptocurrency as a whole, and not just the fiat, or not just the fiat value, but the value and the intrinsic value of the idea of cryptocurrency should be versus itself. And I would hope that in the future, and I don't know when that's going to happen, that we'll be looking at the US dollar as a value of Bitcoin and not the other way around. So I'd like to open this up to anyone who would like to comment.
BC, welcome.
Thanks, John. Jabberelly, how are you? Is all good?
Oh, good, buddy. What's up, man? How's it going?
All good, all good. Back from my brick walk, so back into the work, getting through a few things, but no, all good. We can't complain. Getting through things, it's the main thing. Yeah.
Well, so I want to take a moment here to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of each of these tickers that we have up right now: BTC, ETH, Raven, Dynamo. If you know anything or everything or something about them, your commentary is always educational to everybody that's here and anyone that's going to listen thereafter. So anything you have would be, I'm sure, beneficial to the future people that listen to this. So what do you got?
Yeah, look, I mean, from our perspective, I mean, obviously, as we're tokenizing real estate property here in Australia, and anything we sort of quote in all documentation is always quoting on US dollars, because obviously it's a common currency globally. Obviously, we are focusing around the globe, so that's why we quote everything in US dollars. Now, the reason we decided to, I know it's not on this list here, but the reason we decided to actually use USDC as a digital currency is there's a few things from a compliance perspective, and obviously making sure that when we do sell each token series, we've got those funds in the bank or in the wallet for in USDC form. And we know that $1 is $1 when it comes to USDC. Probably not so much in USDT, because obviously we know what happened with USDT. And that's the reason we actually last year we ended up choosing and trying to choose a stable currency that we felt comfortable with, and making sure there's always one for one. And obviously the USDC has got in the bank account, in a US bank account, US dollars that backs that USDC coin. So again, from our perspective, we decided last year to make that choice to use USDC currency to help people buy our brick wallet tokens and all our token series. So that for us, that was critical. One, in terms of making sure those funds never change as far as the funds we're trying to obtain to buy each property, and also making sure that the safety around the stablecoin. Look, last year when we not to take up too much time, and I know there's other people who want to talk, but last year when we were making our decision which stablecoin we were going to go with, there was a lot of noise last year with USDT around the not being comfortable in terms of there was the right backing there for each USDT dollar. So again, after doing some research and talking to some of the people at the cold front, hence why we chose USDC as to feel comfortable. And USDC, they actually print out a report each month by Grant Thornton, the accountants. They do an audit each month, and they actually state a report each month that the backing of US dollars to the USDC. So again, given my accounting background and the CPA, for me, that gives me comfort in terms of what's there is there in terms of backing one for one using the USDC coins. So yeah, look, I know it's not on the list here, but I thought I'd just put that into the mix, and I think it's quite critical given the current environment we're in.
All right, USDC. Check.
Oh, it's good. I don't own any USDC myself either. How do I put this exactly? Coins that are associated with Ethereum, I've tried to steer clear of, and I realize that Ethereum is the second thing we mentioned in the title of this space. But in general, I have problems, and I don't know if anybody was in the original grilling of Tron Black on Raven, but when I first met Tron, one of the very first sessions we did with him was not like a Twitter space, but I don't remember if it was an interview. I think it was just like a Discord chat. And my initial question, and it still is to this day, and I know he's never really given me a straight answer, and I don't blame him for it. It's his baby. It's what he started out with. And that is that if, and it hasn't yet, but if Raven went to $1,000 or even $100, let's say, effective value, Raven itself is still one. One Raven equals one Raven, just the same as Bitcoin. But if your primary source of funding comes from a fiat currency, whether it's Aus dollars or Canadian dollars, US dollars or euros, you're still coming from a different standpoint where the majority of things are being funded. And if that's where most of your money is, you're going to want to know something that's valuable that way. And if Raven is at that time worth $100 US or whatever the stablecoin is, then it's either that your money is worth less than a Raven, which at that point it is, and that you're trying to change currencies. And so how would you break into that? And I can see that from the standpoint of a person saying, well, our coin is worth what our coin is worth, whether it's in whatever currency you're coming from. If you're coming from like Venezuelan money, maybe it would be worth 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000. You're like, well, I don't have enough of this Venezuelan money to buy hardly any Raven at all. And you're like, well, I'm sorry that's the case, but that's your economy. I can't change your economy, so be it. And in that sense, I understand Tron's perspective. He's like, well, whatever our coin's worth is whatever our coin's worth. If it costs more in your currency, so be it. I can't change that. I didn't make this currency worth what it is to you guys. Somebody else decided that, or the community as a whole decided it. And my problem was at that time, I was like, well, that's unfair. So it's the same thing with Ethereum, right? Right now, most of us who work in this society, in whatever society is, even in Australian dollars, whether it's US dollars or Australian dollars, or Canadian dollars, or even euros for that matter, the value of a Bitcoin is much, much, much higher than one of those single unit values. And if you were being paid in Bitcoin, would you be paid in single Bitcoins? You're like, oh, I get paid, 20, or let's say, what's a common amount of money a person gets paid in US dollars? 100,000 US dollars a year. Are you being paid 100,000 Bitcoin a year? But most people will say probably not, unless you're Jeff Bezos. The value of our currency compared to the other currency is imbalanced. And so I look at the same thing for Ethereum. Like if you don't have thousands and thousands of Ethereum, then paying a fractional amount of Ethereum in whatever your local currency is actually pretty expensive. And that's one of the reasons I don't use Ethereum. It's also because Ethereum's network is quite slow. And so also goes for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is also quite slow in its transaction. If you don't care, because your bills are paid, so it doesn't matter how long it takes, okay, then maybe it doesn't matter as much. Obviously, you can move a lot of Bitcoin or a lot of Ethereum. One of the things I was making a point of as a comparative tool to this is when we pay our customers, because I have a mine, or a cryptocurrency mine, where we mine all kinds of coins, but primarily right now Dynamo. We were paying several thousand Dynamo to our customers in a month. And I was like, if that Dynamo was worth, let's say the price, and right now I think Dynamo is 5 cents or 5 US cents to one Dynamo. If the price of Dynamo to US dollars was worth 1,000 US dollars, then I would have sent roughly somewhere between 5 and 10 million US dollars to our customers. Now that doesn't seem weird when it's just talking about Dynamo. Like, oh, it's only 5,000 Dynamo. That's not so bad. But when you look at it versus some of the currency, like, well, maybe it was Venezuelan currency, it was billions, or it was Japanese yen, and it was hundreds of millions of effective yen. It's just a comparative tool. And so my problem with that was that if you don't have a lot of whatever that's valued in, then it's hard to make that transaction. And that's the thing I find frustrating with Bitcoin and Ethereum, whereas with Raven, it's extremely fast. With Dynamo, it's extremely fast. Price, or the trade price, you're dealing with how fast the trade goes. Like personally, I love Algo, ALGO, because Algo is so fast. It is proof of stake, but it's extremely quick in its transaction time. And so, anyways, I guess what I'm saying is that I just don't appreciate the current trade value. And this is where I don't typically find myself using Bitcoin and Ethereum. Or anything associated with Ethereum because of its slowness, and also smart contract cost to US dollars. So yeah, I feel like that. Even though I know John started on this, I still feel like Raven and Dynamo are more along the lines of things we should be moving towards and away from Bitcoin and Ethereum. I don't mind if Bitcoin continues to hold the value of being like the store of all value. Like, let's say we put trillions and trillions of dollars of value into Bitcoin. I'm not that bothered by that. But everything is reverse Raven or versus Dynamo. Raven and Dynamo are the next steps toward faster, more functional transactional actions, making the value of Raven and or Dynamo more about what they can do for society and not just the fact that they hold monetary value. I hope I didn't overstep my bounds on that discussion, but if anyone has a perspective, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm not going to disagree with you because, as you probably know, we're big supporters of Ravencoin to the point that we actually switched from the Ethereum blockchain from, obviously we minted our first brick wallet token series before obviously we knew about Ravencoin chain. But given obviously all the issues around the Ethereum blockchain, we decided to switch from the second series onwards and thereafter to the Ravencoin blockchain where we're tokenizing our properties. Probably the point in terms of just coming back to why we're using USDC, can you imagine if we actually use, just say hypothetically, right, we use Ravencoin, so people pay us in Ravencoin for the tokens, the property tokens, and obviously given the volatility around the crypto market, so we're trying to obviously bring all the funds, all the sales of the tokens for $2.6 million US. So can you imagine that that volatility at the moment? We'd probably be back to what, half of those funds if we had everything sold, given the volatility of the crypto market. So hence why we needed to choose a stable coin as to making sure we kept today's funds, because at the end of the day, we've got to settle on this property. And when we settle on the property, we need to convert that into fiat currency to pay the seller of the property. So again, for us, it was critical from a compliance that we actually chose a stablecoin. And I've actually made that very clear also, that when the Ravencoin stablecoin is released, the US the stablecoin on the Ravencoin blockchain, we're going to add that also so token buyers can actually use the Ravencoin stablecoin. So again, that's the reason why we chose USDC. Yes, it is tied to Ethereum blockchain, but when people obviously transfer the USDC from their exchanges, whether or decentralized, obviously, I mean, if obviously it's moving it from obviously a MetaMask, obviously kind of has big gas fees, but obviously moving from the exchanges to our wallet on the exchange, we use a centralized exchange to where people are paying their USDCs into. It is obviously a lower fee. If it's on the exchange, it's obviously next to nothing. But obviously, if you're talking about moving from a decentralized wallet to ours, obviously, you are going to have the high gas fees from the buyer's perspective. So, in that situation. So, I thought just give us a clarify from our perspective as to why. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I follow your reasoning on that. I completely agree with the idea of using a stablecoin. I'm not against that at all. I just personally against Ethereum-based stablecoins. I know that the main reason people use things like USDC and or USDT Tether is because they're popular, and you know that you're going to be able to make that trade. And one of the biggest problems Dynamo currently has is that it's really only traded against Tether and Bitcoin, and even then, the market is very illiquid. There's hardly any trade going on at all. It's also very new; hardly anybody knows about it.
That's what I wanted to actually get into next, is in regards to the market cap on our top four here that we're talking about. We have Bitcoin with a market cap of $372 billion. And let's see, Ethereum with a market cap of 126 billion. And let's see, Raven at 245 million. And Dynamo at 82 million. There's obviously big disadvantage or big difference between all of these. There's more liquidity, obviously, in Bitcoin and Ethereum in comparison to Ravencoin and Dynamo. Does that bother you guys when you guys are trying to get into a new token that you guys don't even like? For people that are outside, like obviously we're all in this, right? We all either we're Ravenites or we're part of the Dynamo community. I don't really see anybody from Ethereum here, but I do hodl some Bitcoin. But I'm kind of curious, what are you guys' thoughts on the market cap? Does it matter? Does it not matter? Are you guys more interested in the technology? Because Jake, you're actually mentioning that Ravencoin and Dynamo, aside from the market cap, they're just superior in comparison to Bitcoin and Ethereum. So does the market cap have a play in this game?
I don't know if the market cap's really the factor. I mean, it's just a question of familiarity. This is the thing. Reason, in my opinion, and other people are free to dispute me, that everybody jumped on the Ethereum bandwagon is the biggest thing. It's got a lot of development behind it. A lot of people know it, and you can trade it. It's a huge market for it, right? It may be a third of the value of Bitcoin as its total market cap, but it's traded everywhere. Every single exchange. Well, not quite anymore, but almost every single exchange has Ethereum on it, and most of them have Bitcoin. So you can trade between those two. So if there's a coin sitting on the back of Ethereum, you're probably going to be able to trade it just about everywhere. It could be a small coin, but it's still probably going to be recognized. Whereas Dynamo, who's not backed off of, it's not sitting on the top of Ethereum in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I don't even believe you can trade it for Ethereum right now. I think you can only trade it for Bitcoin and Tether. But it's hardly known. Hardly anybody knows about it. Same thing with, Raven's much more popular. In fact, pardon me just a second. I double muted myself. The thing about Raven right now is people are actually looking toward Raven proof of work as where they're going to move once Ethereum goes proof of stake. It's the next big thing coming up. A number of people I've talked to, in fact, relatively well-known miners out there have YouTube channels talking about moving to Raven. In fact, just today on the Dynamo forums, I saw some people saying that Dynamo currently is slightly more power to mine if you had, like, let's say 100 megahash on Dynamo than Raven. It's actually slightly more intensive than Raven. And I thought that was bizarre, because it's like, for the longest time, the reason I didn't like mining Raven as much is because Ethereum, and still truly is, at least until Ethereum goes proof of stake, makes the machines hotter, makes the room hotter when you're trying to mine Raven coin over Ethereum. Ethereum is much cooler. When Dynamo started out, it was far cooler than Ethereum was, and that was the literal deliberate intent of Sean Neal, the developer, to make Dynamo much, much, much easier to mine and much cooler to mine, because he wanted his massive farm of RX 580s to mine coolly, or very, very cool compared to Ethereum. And I appreciated that when we first signed on, but it has since changed because of the problem of ASICs. This is really the big proof of work problem, is keeping your coin away from people being able to make ASICs to work on the coin, and thus destroy the GPU and CPU market. But yeah, as far as the market cap goes that you're trying to hit on originally, the market caps of these other coins really have to do with their popularity, in my honest opinion.
Yeah.
So Dynamo will eventually come up once it becomes more apparent that it is just as versatile, if not more so, in my opinion, than Raven. Yeah. But Raven's been around a long time, and it's a good thing to mine, and it's going to continue to be proof of work for the foreseeable future, and I'm grateful for that, because it's probably going to be, in my honest opinion, one of the big coins coming up. I know I predicted this back in July of 2021, that in January, when we had the halvening, that Raven was going to do the same thing that happened to Bitcoin, and that did not happen because we were already down in the bear market. But I still have high hopes, if not high expectations, for Raven in the very near future, as far as being the next major POW coin.
Yeah. So we have quoting that's going to come up next, but I just want to plug in Xander. Xander's in the house. He is a fellow miner as well, and I'm sure he has a lot of experience to talk about in regards to proof of work and the proof of stake in regards to Ethereum. But let's get quoting. How's it going, buddy?
Yo,
What's up, man?
not a whole lot. I just wanted to give my input towards that, and I think that P2SH can really enable a lot more activity on Raven and allow it to find its use case a lot stronger, I think.
Can you elaborate what the benefits of P2SH are for being utilized on Ravencoin?
Well, for example, like if you can do a stable coin on Raven and accomplish that for a cheaper cost than using the stable coin on Ethereum, well, I feel like people are going to eventually find that.
Right. Okay. Cool.
So that's just like one. That's one reason of it.
Well, it's kind of like Cello coin. You guys ever used the stable coin for Cello?
I don't think so.
I discovered recently Cello was, at least to try to promote the coin, was giving a gargantuan amount of interest. And I definitely joined it. Their deal was, if you put no more than 1,000 USD equivalent, because this is stable, so 1,000 Cello, CUSD I think it's called, into their Valera mining wallet, or storage wallet rather, they would pay you 50% APR. Now, of course, that 50% APR did not last for a full year, so you didn't get the full benefit. But I did put 900 Cello into it, and was making 12 to 15 something per day or per week. And I knew that if I left it in there for a month, it would eventually go over the maximum. So I just take that out. Well, they got so much response that they lowered it to half that, so it became 25%. And then, of course, there was still a lot of response, so they lowered it again to 12. Now it's still at 12%. That's not terrible for a stable coin, honestly. I don't even know, other than like maybe Nexo, that offers that I think not even in the United States. And I don't know if it even offers it in any country that's a major Western country. But it's still a pretty high interest rate for a stable coin for people to get involved with it. I don't have a lot of money in there anymore because it's lower, and honestly, I can make more off of Pancake than I can off of that. But it's still another coin that's not backed up Ethereum. or actually, I think it originally was backed up Ethereum. But the point I'm trying to get at is that once Raven brings out its stablecoin and can actually back it, which I'll be very much interested in seeing, I can imagine moving away. The only concern I still have after that is that the way that the United States in particular, not just other major countries, like the UK is already doing this, and John and I have already reported on this with the show, is that the UK as well as the United States will absolutely make all stable coins into securities. And you will have to pay interest on them because they're stable. They're flat dollar values, right? Or flat US dollar values, whether it's euro based or dollar based. And that is, it's not disturbing, but at least my appreciation for it is that it's not a CBDC. So I don't mind it being in existence, even if governments want to regulate it and make it a security, fine. And it means you're going to have to pay taxes on it. I think that kind of legitimizes it to some degree. Like people are like, oh, well, if you got to pay taxes, that means it's really a security. It's a real thing, which means you can really put money into it. It's going to suck because you're going to have to pay taxes on it, but at least it's legitimized and it's not a CBDC. If you guys remember what CBDC means, I think we all do here. I know what that means, central bank digital currency.
Here's what separates Ethereum from Bitcoin, Ravencoin, and Dynamo is that Ethereum came out as an ICO, unlike Bitcoin, Ravencoin, and Dynamo. They came out as a Genesis proof of work algorithm. Everybody had to mine it in order to earn it, and that's what makes it different. Now, my concern is that once things migrate over to proof of stake, is the SEC going to recognize it as a security, considering that it pretty much did everything what a security is basically known for, doing fundraising, doing investments as an ICO. In order to get into Bitcoin in the early days, you had to invest your Bitcoin into a smart contract, and then when the funds were released, you would receive your Ethereum. That's, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's a security, right?
I would have to assume that is correct. I did not join the Ethereum march in the beginning. Sorry, Quoten, go ahead.
I was just gonna say,
You're really breaking up there.
Sorry, is that better?
There you go. Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like if they would have done an ICO Ravencoin the same way that Ethereum did, it would have garnished all the attention, especially by now, but they didn't, and there's a lot of good reason for that.
But one of the big differences when it comes to attention is marketing, right? People are attracted to marketing. So if you have big banners, Ethereum, you got all these different projects being built, and then you got Ravencoin, which doesn't have all these big corporate investors yet. Same thing that goes with Dynamo. But when it comes to Ravencoin, as of right now, and you guys can correct me if you want, but as of right now, I consider Ravencoin to be more of a hobbyist coin for people to test on the network for now. But as it continues to grow and evolve, and I think that's what you're talking about, Quote, and once P2SH comes out on Ravencoin, I think it's going to take the blockchain to a whole new level that people are not going to even understand how much this is going to just push Ravencoin forward.
Yeah, John, just on that point there, I mean, in terms of depending on what you see in terms of whether Ravencoins are obvious or not, I mean, at the end of the day, we're doing serious property on the Ravencoin blockchain. So for us, yes, we started with Ethereum, and as I said, there was issues, and we decided to switch to Ravencoin. So we got planned we got 11 properties planned our first year, and 20 properties year two, and thereafter the same amount each year. So we're taking this very serious in terms of having the Ravencoin blockchain as to doing obviously the grunt working on the blockchain in terms of what we're trying to achieve. Again, it's look, if you go back 3 years ago, I was really excited when I found in terms of what the blockchain could do in terms of tokenizing real estate, and again, Ethereum is always what screamed out, and I was excited with DeFi, what was happening in DeFi on the Ethereum blockchain. So again, obviously that's grabs your attention, and that's how we started, and I didn't even know what Ravencoin was until December 2021, when we were trying to, obviously with DigiShares, who obviously are our advisors and who created our platform, maintain our platform. I mean, that they're the ones who made us aware of other chains that we can tokenize, and they made us aware of the Ravencoin blockchain. Obviously, doing research and so forth, we went down the rabbit hole and obviously got to meet the community and so forth. But again, Ethereum grabbed our attention because again, that's it was, and even to the point. Even the point when I still remember this conversation with one of the team members from DigiShares, and they said, oh, there's also Ravencoin that could be an alternative. And I said, no. It's got to be Ethereum because everybody trusts the Ethereum blockchain. Everybody knows the Ethereum blockchain. That's where we got to be. So I was so adamant, But then I got I got to be open-minded and when done some research on the Ravencoin blockchain. And again, it basically ticked all the boxes what we were looking for, given all the issues with the Ethereum blockchain, and not just now, but obviously looking in the next 12 months, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Again, for us, we didn't know what the Ravencoin blockchain until December 2021. And again, and when I tell people, my colleagues who are looking at tokenizing real estate around the world, first thing I say, you need to consider Ravencoin blockchain. So we're early, yes, and obviously the market is not like Ethereum, but again, it relies on us all collectively.
Here's why I say why I think Ravencoin is a hobbyist coin. And first of all, I respect that you're doing this with your company on Ravencoin. It's great. It's one of those rare cases, I'm going to say, for Ravencoin. Now, at any given time, anyone here can literally go to the Ravencoin blockchain and look at the transactions that are going on. And all it is just a handful of transactions, if that. I would say the average transaction per block is like maybe 5 transactions. You'll be lucky to find that. If you might just get just an empty block. So that's why I say it's a hobbyist coin, that people aren't proactively using this particular blockchain right now. It's just people tinkering with it. That's why I call it a hobbyist coin. There's not a lot of activity going on with the blockchain.
Still early. Again, like I said, when we start talking about some of these other major projects in the property space, like some colleagues in Europe, they're looking at doing $180 million projects on the blockchain. So it puts us makes us look very small in terms of what we're doing. But these are people that are obviously, from a corporate perspective, that's where they're looking at. And I said I'm having discussions with them. And again, they're looking at doing these $180 million, valued properties. And again, we are early, John. I do agree, obviously. And this is where we start. Where we all collectively are doing the marketing from Ravencoin and giving all the benefits we know it delivers. And obviously, it is going to be one of the main blockchains for tokenizing assets. Yeah.
Would you agree that Ravencoin is still just a small community, and that's why there's not that many transactions, or is the community so large, but the utility on Ravencoin is still not quite there yet, that people don't proactively use it recurrently on a daily basis? I'm trying to figure that out, because it frustrates me to see a blockchain that it's a very beautiful, an amazing piece of technology. I love it. I use it. I mentioned my book on it, but I don't see that much activity on the blockchain. It hardly exists, unless we all for example, during the halvening. You guys remember the halvening, right? When we were doing that T-30, JC was hosting it, and there was a lot of pump. A lot of people were building working on the Ravencoin network, minting NFTs. It was great, but then right after the halvening, you see a big old tank. It just goes straight back to zero transactions coming out on these blocks. Is it because these blocks are coming out so quickly, or is it because there's nobody utilizing it, or is it because once they get their stuff minted, it's over and done with? I already got what I need, and if you want to purchase one thing, I just sell one thing. I don't understand. I'm trying to figure out, why don't we have transactions going on? Like literally, if you look through all the blocks, man, just find a block out there and tell me that we have been able to successfully fill 1% of a Ravencoin block. 1%. We have not been able to do that yet. That's why I call it a hobbyist coin for now. It's a beautiful technology.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to go into detail of why I think Ravencoin is not as development friendly as Ethereum. I think once Ravencoin does get more enthusiasm, but I would say I was enthusiastic for Ravencoin from the start, even from the first time I discovered it, before I even got a chance to talk to Tron. I don't think I could go on my entire life and never talk to Tron once and still think Ravencoin was a worthy project. But as compared to the hype and enthusiasm that Ethereum has on it, of course, as we know, as I mentioned before, I shouldn't say as we know, but as I mentioned before, the problem I have with Ethereum is its slowness. Raven doesn't have that problem. There's plenty of other projects out there that have realized that if you really want to do transactions, you need to think like MasterCard or Visa and be able to do millions of transactions, or at least tens of thousands of transactions per second, where Ethereum just doesn't make them. Now, the roll-up concept, John and I talked about the roll-up concept, that actually does help alleviate, but it's still a layer 2 solution. It's not a layer 1. But in general, those ideas do help Ethereum perform at a faster space. But then, of course, you have to be using those side chains in order to get this to work. So I don't know that it would work. I don't even know how to yeah,
Go ahead, Quothing.
I know that like a lot, at least in my mind, I see Ravencoin succeeding in the long term in the security token space. So a lot of that won't really necessarily show as like transactions on exchanges. In that sense, I think that that'll show as asset movement. And the securities being built like right now by Jake, with Renewal Blocks and Xander, as well as, I mean, the various other projects. A lot of that stuff is just going to show as like asset movements.
As regulated securities, or just
Correct. And I think that that's like the long term, like real value in the crypto space that Ravencoin holds above many others in a lot of different regards, especially once P2SH is active.
so I've heard of this as well, and a lot of people were kind of frustrated about this when it comes to the smaller players. They're frustrated because the main developers had this vision to push this idea of Ravencoin being a corporate token to mint securities on. So it's not for the average person to be using. It's for these big conglomerates, big companies out there to utilize. So once again, the average person, if they want to tinker with it, just test things out. It comes down to hobbyist coin. But then you have those big players up on top. That's what it's built for. It's built for them and not for us. We're there to utilize what they make for us.
I mean, look at what it was originated by, right? Like, I mean, it wasn't necessarily like created by Overstock, but at the same time, it was an extension of that. So I feel like that, yeah, I mean, that was the idea at least. And I mean, right now, it really is that cheap of a coin that you really can do. I mean, you can spam assets using AssRag. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even care because the transaction cost is so cheap and it's kind of bulked into it just when you create the asset. That's it. I mean, in my mind, that's kind of how I see it, like progressing in the future and having a piece of that right now. In my mind, like it's valuable to me. Like, I feel like being able to experience that in the first place is really cool, much less being able to own part of that.
Let me ask you a thing. Have you ever minted an NFT on Ethereum?
Yeah, well, I guess that's a tough question. So I've done it through OpenSea, but I've never like created my own contract or anything like that.
Right, you're breaking up, Clothing. Now, in regards to OpenSea, it's more of a certificate of ownership, right? Unlike Ravencoin, you actually own the UTXO. You own the actual hard asset that's minted off of the blockchain. Unlike OpenSea, OpenSea holds all of those hard assets and just gives you a receipt of ownership, and you never actually own that. And that's where the issue is, why people get hacked all the time with these smart contracts, is that OpenSea holds them all, and that's the thing that fears. And I have to put Ravenous on this, because Ravenous kind of plays off of this idea of holding all the assets in their wallet. I don't know if it's one wallet, multiple wallets, but it's terrifying to see that a lot of people are putting their NFTs, very precious items. There's amazing pieces of art out there on a centralized exchange out there like Ravenous. Because to me, Ravenous is a copycat of OpenSea. You don't own the NFT until you withdraw it. Right now, it is affordable to withdraw, but anybody that thinks they own assets on Ravenous technically don't. Ravenous owns it. You own a receipt or certificate of ownership. You know, if they decide just to rug pull, they can and technically keep it all. So you're putting your trust in that, and that's the issue that I have with Ravenous. That's why just NFTs or what's the other one? What's Ravenous's other company? Clothing?
No, yeah, just NFTs. That's
Yeah,
him.
just NFTs.
Yeah,
Just NFTs.
but that's like, I feel like that they hold different roles for that exact reason. And I'm also a big advocate of like using the core wallet and holding your own assets. Like, I've been saying that for a very long time. And I think that everyone at heart agrees with that, but the ease of using the exchanges, it kind of, for a lot of people, I think that overrides that at the end of the day. Like, no matter what, they just want something that's easy to use.
Yeah, I won't lie. I use it. I believe it is easy, but it is terrifying knowing that they hold all my assets. Pretty much, if my book was my entire company, they own my entire company. Well, that's a lie. They own a percentage of my company. I know, but that's kind of like the same thing with OpenSea. OpenSea holds all these assets. You know, if they shut down or somebody DDoS them or hacks them or discovers how to get into their hot wallet, they're going to lose. And actually they do. You guys have heard it over and over again that OpenSea got hacked. Somebody lost it. Somebody got hacked off of OpenSea. Yeah, it's very, very dangerous to utilize an exchange like that. And right now, Ravenous is not as popular as OpenSea, but if it does become that popular, trust me, there's going to be hackers out there going to be testing the limits.
Something as a I don't know, comparative tool again with this thought. How many of us keep more than 50% of our total asset value in regarding to everything that we possibly know? Now, if we own our personal private vehicles and our private homes and maybe businesses or buildings that we have with our businesses, if we own them physically outright and we hold the deed to that item personally within our grasp, then in which case no one outside of ourselves owns that thing. But a lot of society, and not just in the US, trusts the institutions that have been set up that are just businesses owned by other people to hold our cash assets, cash values, and or possibly business values, or in lien format, or private vehicle values, or whatever it is we happen to have, until we outright pay for those things in their entirety. But we trust those businesses, and I would say this goes right into the concept of where the governments are, our nation's governments are backing those businesses to continue to exist, per the United States 2008, when we had the too big to fail problem, and the United States government said, well, we'll just pay those companies to continue to exist. And it's, even during the pandemic, they paid the U.S. citizenry to continue to exist so that they didn't, go into default or not be able to exist any longer. And so we do have these other institutions in place. Now, it's an interesting question to ask. Would we be willing, and I don't think we would as all proponents of crypto, to allow some centralized entity like the US government or Australian government to back our crypto with their own money or their own coverage? Obviously, it's happened when the US government has seized assets, and then at some point, for some reason, like when Silk Road was taken down, the US government took over a great deal of Bitcoin at that time. But would they be willing to put that Bitcoin up against the saving of other things. And I think that almost defeats the purpose of cryptocurrency, the decentralized nature of cryptocurrency, to let a large entity like the US or Australian or European Union say, oh, well, we'll back your currency. Like, that's centralization. So to John's point, letting OpenSea or Just NFT Ravenist hold our assets is kind of like allowing a large corporation to hold your money or your assets. I would like to get people's perspective on that. Am I wrong?
I think when it comes to like any kind of actual value when it comes to the token, that would be like the security token. That has to be typically ran through as like a restricted asset, which you can be the owner of still, I'm sure, but at the end of the day,
You have to fix your fan of their code saying you're really digitized.
what's that?
You sound really digitized. Is it just me?
Try to get closer to your Wi-Fi. Still there, Courtney?
Yep. JC, welcome.
Hey guys, great conversation. John, thanks for holding these talks.
Yeah, we just thought we put something together. We were talking about BTC, Ethereum, Raven, and Dynamo. Do you got any commentaries on it? Like, actually, let me ask you. Did you dabble with Bitcoin?
No.
You never touched Bitcoin ever. Why?
That's a good question. I felt that I think I felt that other projects were gonna do better financially because Bitcoin is a behemoth, and the other coins needed to were going to do better. So I actually started with Ethereum. I bought Ethereum when it was 350, and then I sold it at like 1800, I think.
Nice.
And
Congrats.
then thanks. And then I found Ravencoin. That's why I sold it. I found Ravencoin, and I converted all my ETH to Ravencoin, and then I tripled my Ravencoin investment, and then it just went downhill from there.
Are you a miner or just an investor?
Just an investor. So yeah, I was thinking about the comment you made of Ravencoin is for hobbyists. I guess I don't agree with that for a few
Okay.
reasons.
Go
One
ahead.
of them is obviously I'm not a hobbyist. That's not a hobby for me. I don't mind. I see the potential in the security area, and then I think of the other comment you made that I think caught my attention was that you were saying it could be either the hobbyist or the big corporations. But if you think about Jake's project with the homes, and then you think about Sarah with the hydrochain project, I mean they're not big corporations. I believe they're smaller companies, and I think that was really what the vision was, is to allow for the small business owners to have an opportunity to tokenize their businesses. It doesn't have to be big public companies. It could be small companies, and it could be crowdfunding type of situations, which does require some KYC stuff and things like that. But it's a pretty Brick would know more, but it's a pretty simple one. So I think once people recognize, like for you, John, if your business C3 Media, if you wanted to grow it and you wanted to bring in capital, in theory, you could use Ravencoin very easily with crowdfunding legal process and get a bunch of investors and grow it. And then they own a fraction of your business. So I'm excited for the entrepreneurs to discover Ravencoin. But I did have a question for Jake. You were saying, Jake, that Dynamo is more flexible or more. Yeah, I think you said flexible. Maybe has more features than Ravencoin, and I don't know. I'm not familiar with Dynamo, so I was wondering if you could elaborate on that.
Yeah. In the short run, your Ravencoin definitely does not have more features. Dynamo has, rather, Ravencoin has more features. It's been more versatile. It's been around longer, much longer than Dynamo. Dynamo has a lot of plans, and they literally just finished the vote on staking. 70%, 30% staking, 70% proof of work. The expectation of the beta rollout for that is August, early August. And then the next step after that, the games that they're currently doing developed, I believe in September is when Total Mayhem is supposed to come out. And the beta version of Isle of Trials is already available right now. Pardon me, the alpha version, not the beta version. The alpha version of Isle of Trials is currently available to those who wish to play it. I know people are giving feedback on it right now. It's based off Skyrim, I believe, and they actually have a professional development company building that program. So it's going to be like the Sandbox. Actually, it looks a lot like what Sandbox is already available or already doing. So that's kind of a churn cycle of what's coming up. Is there a Ravencoin based game or a small simple game? I don't even know if Ravencoin has a game. Do you guys know of any?
Humble Miner had a game, right? Wasn't that on Ravencoin? And also, you guys were talking earlier about stable coins. There's a stable coin being developed on Ravencoin, and I don't think they're waiting for P2SH. I think they're doing it without P2SH. I think they're just waiting for regulatory.
Which stablecoin?
What was that?
Which stablecoin is that?
It's called Perper, Perper, and the guy that is working on it agreed to write an article for my website. So hopefully we'll post something here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I found it. I was just searching for a post on it. Perper stablecoin built with Raven. And that was from November of last year. I hope they've made more progress than just announcing it.
Yeah. So he said, actually, let me see what he told me. It wasn't much, but he did say that they're making good progress or something along those lines. Let me see. His name is Ivan Jolicic, Jolicic. Yeah, he said they're negotiating with investors, adding exchange, Perper -USDT, Perper -RVN, engaging more coders, short day. That's all he said. But
okay.
I guess
hey, is that the one on Europe on euros, based on euros? That's stable.
That's a European thing. Yeah.
So then we've also got the stably, which is obviously going to be based on US dollars. The stable that's also currently being obviously developed. So I think they're aiming for sometime this year. I think they're waiting to raise funds to be able to launch. I think that's in the progress. Yeah.
Okay, so, that's good. At least it's not going to be based off something like what Terra was. So.
But Jake, I guess I want to make sure I understand what you said earlier. So you didn't use the word flexibility. You used a different word. What was that?
I don't remember exactly. I was trying to compare Dynamo to Raven as it being a coin that has a lot of transaction capabilities as opposed to Bitcoin and Ethereum. The problem we know full well, to repeat, as if we didn't already know, that Bitcoin is extremely slow and Ethereum is just impacted because there's so many people trying to make transactions through it. And so it's only slow because it just has more bandwidth than Bitcoin, but not as much Bitcoin as Raven or Dynamo. Both of these other projects were set up with the idea of having thousands of transactions per second, not 10. So the throughput of Dynamo and Raven is much higher and has the potential of being a 18, or I think more appropriately, 1,000-lane highway instead of a 10-lane highway like Ethereum. So as far as flexibility with Dynamo is that the intent, from what I know, and we could obviously go to the Dynamo website and look at it, what their future projects are. The reason, as far as I know from having spoken with Sean Neal, the developer, original developer, was that he was turned away from the Ethereum community. He was turned away from the Ravencoin community. He was turned away from so many other communities who was just trying to give, like, hey guys, let's try this. And they're like, no, you go do your own thing. And that's what he did. That's why Dynamocoin even exists, is because he got turned away from so many different other projects. But as far as flexibility goes, if that's what you use, I don't remember exactly what word I used. I see Dynamocoin as having a great deal more potential than any of the other projects out there. I look at Dynamocoin as being iteration 4. So if Bitcoin was first iteration, Ethereum was second, Ravencoin was, I think, of as third, and I think Tron even said that. I could be wrong. I'm not saying I'm quoting him. I look at Dynamo as being the 4th iteration, the next one down the line after Ravencoin.
So what is the goal use case for Dynamo?
I don't know that I have an explicit name. I was thinking, well, my ideal for it is it's more than just the money. And that's the way that Sean has expressed multiple times. And I agree with him from the beginning, although the algorithm changed to become ASIC resistant. It was supposed to have been a really easy to mine coin. And then his key, and he repeats this all the time, is that it's the perfectly decentralized coin. There's no foundation influence at all. There's like Ethereum, we look at Ethereum on a regular basis as saying this Ethereum Foundation has huge influence over Ethereum itself. The influence of the founders of Dynamo is almost nothing. They're like, nope, everything is on chain. Voting is on chain. Everything that Dynamo's done is by the people who own the coin, and the miners and the stakers. So it's the purpose. The primary purpose is complete decentralization.
Okay, so well, here's the thing, though, is I would say that I agree with what you said about Bitcoin and ETH, but I would say that the big thing about Ravencoin, what makes Ravencoin unique, is that it was really created specifically for asset tokenization, and it's already handling a lot of those things that other companies or other cryptos are trying to do with smart contracts. It handles it on layer 1, things like KYC, messaging, voting, and some of those are other compliance related things. You can do that right now on Ravencoin very easily without smart contracts. So that's what drew me to it. Is there something like that for Dynamo that you can say, okay, well, its use case is going to be space, or is going to be art, or is it going to be, maybe it's tokenization? I don't know. Is there something like that you could say about Dynamo?
I think the intent is there, but development is slow. I mean, it's literally, and it's barely out of its first year. Ravencoin has a big, huge step on Dynamo in the fact that it's been around for several years longer. And do I deny anything that you said about Ravencoin? No, I think Ravencoin is actually a very good project, and I own a good chunk of Raven, and I've mined Raven. I still mine it today. But what I'm saying, at least from the standpoint of Dynamo, is I feel like it's the next step. Like John was commenting that he feels like it's a hobbyist project, and that might just be because it's still not quite to the level that Ethereum is. Now, once Ethereum goes to proof of stake, I think it will become a lot more important global coin. I'm not saying it isn't now, but it will become much bigger because people will turn to it for mining, and then it will be more interest in general, in my opinion.
But Jake,
I don't have a crystal ball, but
but Jake, from the beginning, I mean, if you read the Ravencoin white paper, from the beginning, they were saying here's what the purpose of this coin is, right? So it's not just that Ravencoin has more years ahead of Dynamo, is that it began with a specific purpose in mind. And I guess I haven't read the white paper for Dynamo. A lot of coins just exist because they can, and they try to do everything. And that's kind of what it can be a flaw for some of the coins, right? Is trying to do everything and being not good at one thing. And then once they exist, they're trying to adjust. Whereas Ravencoin started from the beginning with this particular goal in mind. I'm not trying to bash on Dynamo. I was just trying to understand it, and maybe I'll just go read the white paper.
Sorry, I keep missing the button at the bottom of my phone here. I got into, to be clear about my reasons for, I'm primarily a miner. I don't buy coin. I probably never bought coin. I've only ever mined and then traded for other things. I, I wouldn't say John is the only person, but a lot of people I know who have spoken with me in real life, in person, know that when I personally buy coin, the price goes down. So they look to me like, hey, is Jake buying coin again? Yeah? All right, it's time to sell, right? I have terrible luck with buying coin, so I don't buy it. I only mine it. But the point I'm trying to make with that is the reason I got into Raven was because it was another coin to mine. It was popular. It was something I could use. It was something I could make money off of. And that was my primary interest. But because I was starting a business about the time I discovered Ravencoin, I was interested in what Tron had presented. He's like, oh, well, you can do stock with Ravencoin. You can really do a literal stock offer or a stock offering, and base your entire stock business side, the side of your business on stock on Ravencoin. And I still intend to do that. That was actually what I started to try to do a year ago. And I would say, actually it was 2 years ago now, but as far as the tokenization on Raven, I'm not disfavored of it. The reason I don't tend to own Ethereum tokens is because the smart contracts are so high. The smart contract equivalent on Raven is not so high. It's not as much involvement, but there is some involvement. And of course, making NFTs is relatively inexpensive, but at the moment, it's because the USD value or cost of USD to Raven is relatively low. When we were looking at the price of Raven going to, what was it, 28 cents, I think, 28 US cents, I was looking going, okay, well, if it goes much higher than this, it's going to start getting pretty expensive to make NFTs and assets, unless you're being paid in Raven, which I wasn't and still I'm not. But, well, I guess I'm mining it, so technically I am being paid in it. But the purpose, the tokenization, the stablecoin ideal of Raven, I have no problem with those things. The issue I took was, and I don't know if any of the rest of you who are more Raven fans have found this to be the case, and I know that it can definitely happen because it's even happened on the Dynamo Discord channel as well. For some reason, I wish I knew I wish I could comprehend it. The nest on Ravencoin's Discord is a volatile place to go, and I literally left the server because of the nest. The reason I didn't even want to have anything to do with Raven for a while was because of the volatility in that channel. And it was like, why are assholes here? Why are people such jerks? I just trying to ask a question, and they're like, why don't you go read the fact page? It's like, I thought this was supposed to be a community. I thought this was supposed to be fun and exciting and involving and engaging and, inclusive, but it's not. And I don't know if it's just because trolls hang out in the general forum of almost every Discord, or if it's people who are just disappointed in the price, which absolutely happens also in Dynamo. We have a couple of trolls that are in there all the time, and if you make any comment whatsoever, you will get shit on and memed to death. And I don't understand it, and I don't think I ever will. But that volatility drove me away from Raven. And I'm not saying it's Raven's fault, but it is incredibly frustrating when you just want to engage with normal people on a normal level to get normal things done. And there's trolls everywhere.
So I think I've heard that before, that, I don't know, the Nest or someplace in Discord was not very friendly. And that's before me, and I never really got into Discord that much. But one thing that I think has become a bit of a divisive issue is that I think that many people in Ravencoin think Ravencoin is done. We're done developing. We there's nothing else that needs to be done, and it's kind of like taking the lead of Bitcoin, right? At some point, you draw the line. Everybody can take the code and do something else they want with it, but the original intent has been achieved. And others think, no, guys, we need to do P2SH. we need to do smart contracts, we need to do whatever else, and just keep building and building and building. And so there's a bit of a divide there. Um, I'm on the camp of let's do P2SH for assets and then be done. And I know that's not necessarily what the majority wants, or at least I don't have confidence that that's what the majority wants. I think there are some people that are saying don't touch it anymore, it's done, and some people that want a lot more. And that I think creates some uh, uh, chaos and some friction. But that friction can be a good thing, right? So
Do you feel, JC, do you feel like the purpose of Raven coin is a store of value?
no,
Okay, what do you think the purpose of Raven coin is?
tokenization.
Okay, so do you think the crypto bros, I'm going to try to define that, people who are only interested in shilling or promoting their project within whatever coin they're on just to make money, do you think the crypto bros like the idea of tokenization?
Well, I guess when you say crypto bros, I'm thinking Bitcoiners, Bitcoin maxis. I would say they don't even recognize anything. They
Right,
don't want
right.
NFTs.
Yes.
They don't like smart contracts. They don't recognize tokenization.
Yep, no, that's what I'm getting at. I think that the detractors, the people you're saying that are detractors effectively from Raven, who are saying that Raven's dead, are basically crypto bros. Now, I might be conflating concepts of what other people call a crypto bro. Well, my personal opinion of what a crypto bro is a person who's only in it for the money. They're only in it for pump and dump. They're only in it to make money quick and get out, or to steal as much as they can from someone else who's a naivete or naive to the idea of what the coin is about. And they completely miss, as you've pointed out, the purpose of that coin. So when you're hearing the negatives or the trolls, as I was saying about Discord, or even in Dynamo for that sake, is you're hearing it from people who aren't making money anymore. And they're like, it's done. I can't make money anymore. This is stupid. Why am I even here? And it's because they want, what's it called? There's a word for it. Validization. They want to be validated about their opinion. They're not going to get it because it was never about that. And they're just mad. So they're going to make it your problem. And that is the problem.
That's a great point, Jab. That's a fantastic point, Jab, because again, it's I've had these experiences, and again, just on that point there, whether somebody's actually investing in Raven coin just for the coin itself, or they actually want to get involved and want to understand what's actually been tokenized on the Raven coin to have that deeper understanding. And on Telegram, the Raven coin there's two or three main ones. There was one particular one, Raven coin Telegram, and on there, I actually invited some of the administrator and a few of the other guys, because they were being very negative in terms of some of the projects that we were obviously trying to make them aware of. It seems like a lot of the discussion there was around what's the Raven coin price doing? Why is it not going up? Why isn't it all this negative stuff, right? And I just said to the guys, if you guys want to have a deep understanding, what is the Raven coin blockchain? Come and actually hang out some of the Twitter spaces. Come out to, Braveland, where we have once a month as a community on Ravencoin. We actually host to actually hear from the founders and the project leads who are actually creating projects on the Ravencoin blockchain. Come and listen to them, because if you're fair dinkum, being passionate about Ravencoin, you need to understand what project's being built on, because you'll see what the future is. Some of these projects, what's when in terms of planning out and so forth. But you know what? They didn't. And again, it comes back to what you point, JB. They have no interest about the understanding of the usage of the Ravencoin blockchain. They just see that the coin and trading on the coin. But again, they just, it just frustrates. Well, look, it's everybody's different. I mean, it frustrates when people are negative, but they don't want to actually be educated on it in terms of what's happening, the deeper understanding of the chain. But again, look, we keep preaching the ones that do want to. And as a Ravencoin community, we keep growing. And again, I just think the Braveland event, that the Braveland with Gems on the Beach, there that we have once a month, the first Saturday of each month, is a great avenue for people to get a deeper understanding what's happening on the chain with all the different types of asset tokenization. But that's a great point there, Jeb, what you just made. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to rant. I'm just trying to. If the purpose of Ravencoin is tokenization, then I think the key so far, at least my opinion about Dynamo, is that the purpose is decentralization, to be fully and completely decentralized, so everything is done. There's no foundation that controls it. And it will certainly expand to other things. Obviously, they're trying to make coins that are cyclable. I even have a project I'm trying to launch on Dynamo in the near future. It may not be 6 months, a year out, but I have a project that I'm trying to do, and I'm not going to talk about it because I'm not trying to confuse the issue. But there needs to be a churn. There needs to be a function. There needs to be usage. Right now, there's very low turnover on Dynamo. Its volume is extremely low, and so a lot of people look at it as nothing's happening because the churn is so low. Raven definitely has better churn. There's lots more projects going on it. There's much more interest, not just for proof of work. But like I said, Raven has multiple purposes, and if it's tokenization is one of them, for me it was the idea that you could launch a stock on it. I think that's a brilliant effect that it has NFTs on it. That's also useful in assets. A lot of people who've made assets on Blockchain John is one of them. Mike from our group, C3 Media, is also another one. I'm sure plenty of other people have made them as well. Yeah, the one thing that Sean made a point about recently for Dynamo was, as soon as the price started falling, you see all the people who don't care leave. The crypto bros, they all leave because they can't make money anymore. They don't see the purpose. If they actually saw the purpose, they'd understand that investing, either buying up a huge amount of Ravencoin and whatever, Raven or Dynamo or whatever, was investing in the future when the coin became valuable. And sometimes that could be 5 years down the road. A crypto bro can't wait that long. He needs his billions now. So in order to get to that point requires patience and interest. And in order to get those things in this, we just need that. In order for it to even be realistic, we need people who are truly interested in the actual point.
And that's Jeb, your invitation to Braveland next first Saturday of the month. You're more than welcome to join the Ravencoin community.
Oh, I've been in it for a long time, so don't worry about me. I mean, having been part of C3 Media now for 2 years, I've been to enough Braveland events, especially in the very, 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 very beginning when no one was there. But yeah, you guys have probably seen me before. I'm pretty boring looking. My character doesn't look like my character for my avatar from Twitter. It looks like a very boring, generic looking character if you see my avatar on C3 Media.
Yeah, so I don't want to come across as I'm trying to convert you or anything like that to a Ravencoin or
JC, or, his NFT is from Raven, right?
Yeah. But what I'm about to say, I just don't want to come across the wrong way. I just think that the idea that here's a coin which has the main purpose of being a decentralized crypto is a very hard sell, because there are already coins that claim to be decentralized. And by the way, decentralized is not popular anymore because you got all these other coins that are making it sound like they can be a little bit less decentralized and therefore be better or more efficient, proof of stake and all that kind of stuff, right? So I was excited to hear about a new project, and I'll still look it up. But the idea that the main goal of Dynamo is to be a decentralized crypto, it's a tough sell. That's just my thought.
I don't think you're wrong. I see it as far more potential than just being decentralized. Well, it is regularly said that's one of the primary points that Sean, the developer, made with his development. But he's let me put it this way. One of John's and my very good friends, I introduced me to, or if he just, but he's longtime Ravencoin guy. His handle is IMI. He's just known as M. He's actually one of the main developers with Dynamo now. In Raven, he's still given up on it. But his enthusiasm, and I trust this guy very well, very much so. His enthusiasm for Dynamo was for Raven. And when a person of his character says that about a project, it is very encouraging to me. The other things that I like about Dynamo in particular is that the people involved in Dynamo are not in it for the money. That's close to my heart because, as I said before, I don't like crypto bros because their interest is just money. I'm interested in Dynamo for its purposes. What can it do for the world? What can it bring to society as a whole? Obviously, there are things being developed on it, but it's an attempt to, in particular, I guess the example I use on a regular basis when trying to tell people about Dynamo who are in any way interested in listening, is that the people who started the project, most of the people involved in the project, are altruists. I'm an altruist. I do things even though it's not going to make me money. I do all kinds of things that aren't going to make me money. In fact, probably the reason I haven't become a millionaire yet is because I've had so many opportunities to be one, but haven't taken them. And it's because I'm not interested in making myself millions and millions of dollars. If it comes as a result of my hard work, I would be happy. But I will be more happy for making the lives of my fellow man on this planet better than to just be wealthy. So when I see a project that's involved with people who are wealthy, like Sean and his marketing guy Keith, who don't need to do this, they're well off. They don't need to do a coin. They're worth millions and millions of dollars. They've put millions of dollars into this project, Dynamo, and yet they don't need the money. And they're not even mining the coin themselves. They're just developing it. To me, that shows a level of integrity that you just don't see that often. I'm not saying that, I'm not going to discount that Vitalik Buterin or Palmer Jackson or any of the other people that are out there who have been involved with really, really popular coins, with the exception of Elon Musk, who's not a developer, are not in it just for the money. They're not. It doesn't seem like it, because I know like the other guy that was involved in Doge, he sold all, no, Litecoin. What's the name of the guy who developed Litecoin? I can't think of his name now. He literally sold all of his Litecoin because he wanted people to stop looking to him as a source of where Litecoin was going. He's like, no. I'm just a developer. I'm not Jesus. I'm not Bitcoin or Litecoin Jesus. You know, I'm not the person you should be looking to for the sake of this coin. I'm the person you should be looking to for the development of this coin. That's my intent. That's my interest in Dynamo. That's my interest in Raven, even for that matter. And so what can it do? What does it do is the primary purpose. If it happens to garner me some money from my development involvement, great. But that's not the point. So what can Ravencoin do? It can do, stock value. And I will eventually pursue it for that purpose. Right now, Dynamo Coin is in very early development stages. So hopefully in the near future, it can be better.
So I found
hold on one second, JC. So thank you, Jake, for that whole like half an hour rant about Dynamo. But we do have Sean Neal, the developer of Dynamo, in the house right now. So if you have questions in regards to Dynamo, Sean is here. So ask away.
Hey, Sean. So I was just asking what's the main use case for Dynamo, and I actually came across a Reddit use case post, and I think it says analytics, event tracking, data storage, and things like that. Can you elaborate on all of that?
Sure. Sorry, so I'm just I'm responding to John asking me to hop in here, and so it's a little bit but it's quite late. You know, it's obviously midnight here too. So, what is the use case for Dynamo? So, um, I would I would first direct everyone back to the white paper that I published close to 18 months ago, which was born out of my frustration of dealing with so many other crypto projects that I wanted to be involved with, and let's call them Ethereum, Litecoin, Raven, all of these other projects, which they 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 claim to be open source. They claim to allow anyone to be able to contribute. They claim to say that they're completely decentralized. Frankly, all of that is bullshit, right? Like when you actually try to contribute to the project and you actually say, hey, I want to make a difference and I want to build this thing and I want to build, like I want to bring this commercial application, they're like, yeah, okay, well, that's fine, fuck you. Like, like they're just like not helping anyone to like all they want to do is help their VC investors. All they want to do is keep their central power control. Nobody's giving up their GitHub credentials. Nobody's going to accept your merge on their main net, right? Like there's no possible realistic way to contribute in any meaningful way to their project. And so I said, you know what? All of that is bullshit. I'm going to build a project where anyone can contribute to the project, right? And that's really what Dynamo is all about, is anyone being able to have an idea and contribute to the project. Now, most of unfortunately, most of the ideas have been mine, right? Like I built a board of directors, and we've got a bunch of business contacts, and we're trying to build some third party use cases. And I'm trying to build interest on this. This has been my full time job for the last 18 months, like doing this thing. So I've been completely dedicated to this. So unfortunately, the majority of it has been me, but you know we are open to anyone that wants to come in and build anything. Like if you say, hey, merge my pull request, we're going to merge it. Like like there's, it's not like Ethereum, it's not like Raven, it's not like any of those other projects where you can't get your change merged in. We're going to do it, right? Like we are the accepting community.
So
So
Sean,
so mhm,
sorry to interrupt, but
of course.
I mean that level of frustration has been explained, and I understand it. I can see that being the situation that led you to start your own project. But if you were to ask me what's the use case for Ravencoin, I can say it's tokenization. Can you give me an idea of what the use case for Dynamo is?
Well, first of all, I would argue that tokenization on Ravencoin, and I'll probably make some enemies on this, is an utter failure. They have not been able to, um, you know, any of the promises about tokenization that they have talked about, they have not been able to deliver in any meaningful way.
Fine,
Unfortunately,
fine. But tell us about your
of course.
lineup. Yeah.
Yeah. So right. So Dynamo Coin was meant to be, first of all, it's a fork of Bitcoin, right? So it's a proof of work chain. We are very close to implementing a hybrid proof of work, proof of stake, which will allow staking. But look, staking, when if you think about it, staking is just like, oh well, I have these coins and I'm going to get more coins, right? Like there's no um inherent
Dude,
value,
I
right?
don't want to be rude, but what's the use case, man?
Exactly, right? So the use case is, and frankly, what is the use case of any coin, right? And the use cases are where are your third-party commercial connections, right? Who do you know who's going to build something on top of this? That's what it's all about, right? So we've got lots of people on the board who are trying to build third-party use cases. So we've got a couple of guys that have published AAA games, right, that are trying to build play-to-earn games on top of this. And we're looking, and those guys, third party, are looking for VC funding along with me. I'm a partner and all that, of course. I'm full disclosure, right? So we're trying to do like play to earn gaming on top of the chain. That's one use case, right? We're working with another board member has a close connection to a former cast member of Saturday Night Live. That person is interested in doing NFTs for comedy, right? And so we're talking about literally producing a comedy game show where there will be rewards based on the chain. Another possible use case. Um, it's all about who you know and what your connections are, right? So that's it. Right now, those things are very hard, right? Because you look at, I don't know, NFT sales are down, 98%, right? If you look at OpenSea volumes and all that kind of shit, right? So these things are very hard to sell right now, but we are trying to forge those kinds of things. So what is the Dynamo use case as compared to anybody else? It's about our business connections. It's about the people who are behind the project, right? So it's me as a full-time professional developer, and you're happy, please look me up on LinkedIn, right? Like, you can find me. I'm not hiding. And you can look at any of the other board members. Look at our website. I don't know, there's 11 board members. You can, their names are there. Like, you can go look them up. We're not like, Shadow X, like some of these other projects, right? Like, it's not bullshit, right? Like, we are real people behind this project. So I think the use case of Dynamo is that we are real people. I've been a developer for 35 years. So there's actual technical talent behind the project that's driving it. We're going to be around for a long time. We're going to slog through this this frankly horrible time, and we will emerge, hopefully, on top. But what's the use case? What's the use case of Cardano? What's the use case of Ethereum? What's the use case of any of these things? Like, it's all the same answer, right? Like, there's
Yeah,
no,
no, that's right.
right.
I mean, you make a good point, but that's, I think that back to before you joined the conversation. That's what I was saying is there's a reason why I like Ravencoin, and it's because it has a specific use case versus all these other coins that are trying to do everything, and they're not very good at everything, right?
Mm.
And so, but yeah, so you're making the same point, is that a lot of those coins are in the same space. So I guess maybe the next question is what makes you guys different than a lot of the other coins? And I gather one of them is speed, right?
Sure. Right. Well, or Raven, right? So I would again go back to Raven. Why does Raven have, I don't know, $20 million a day in liquidity? Because Medici was behind it all along, right? And Overstock, right? The guy from Overstock sort of backed them and all that kind of stuff, right? So they got a boost from all that. But in the end, if you look at the Raven blocks, how many empty Raven blocks are there? It's probably about, I don't know, 97%. I mean, you can verify this. Look at the Raven Block Explorer. 3%,
No, and
right?
that's
Like, it's
that's
not
good.
really used. Like, it's not, like, I'm just saying.
But no one's saying that we're there yet, right? And I think one of the things that
Yes.
people miss, for example, is that it doesn't aim, like Ravencoin doesn't aim to be millions of transactions like other coins aim to,
Mm,
or
mm,
doesn't aim to have the speed. Because if you're gonna tokenize stocks, if Ravencoin is gonna be the crypto for tokenizing stocks, Stocks now settle in 3 days or something like that. If we could just do same day settlement, that'd be amazing, right? And if you could do
Yeah,
same
I
hour
agree.
Well,
settlement, that'd be an
but
improvement.
let me I'm sorry, let me deflate your balloon a little bit there. That will never happen because no one will ever collateralize that on the other side because it's illegal security, right? That will absolutely
No, because we're talking
never.
about doing it legally.
Well, I mean, maybe somebody in Sudan will set up like a Raven exchange, but
No,
in the
no,
United
no. We're
States
not
that will never
talking
happen.
about Raven Exchange. We're talking about a company like T0 using Raven Coin or something like that.
No,
Or
no, that will
So,
that will never happen because it would be illegal.
no,
There
at the moment,
are
yes, and
yeah.
I would make a point because Trend with T0, Sean, you have a background in finance, right?
So
apparently not, because he's saying it would be illegal and it's not.
so
No, no,
so for the last let's say 35 years. Um, my first job was a director of a technology director at Merrill Lynch, and I had a group of about 110 people. And I was responsible for all of the management reporting at Merrill Lynch, including all of the quarterly investor calls. I worked directly for the CEO of Merrill Lynch. And then subsequently, I was an IT director for a wholesale debt collection firm. And most recently, I was the chief technology officer for a credit card company. And that was my last 8 years of employment. And then about 3 years ago, I quit my job to pursue crypto full time. So yeah, I have a little bit of a background in compliance. I've sort of been around this. Yeah.
We have Vic BC that wants to speak. He's been holding his hand up for a bit. Go ahead.
Hi, Sean. How are you? You good?
Well, thank you.
Just to get an understanding, just in terms of the capabilities of Dynamo. So, I mean, from our perspective, we tokenize real estate properties on the Ravencoin blockchain. So, just to get an understanding in terms of the capabilities of Dynamo. So, obviously, you mentioned NFTs as obviously one asset. Has it got the capabilities to handle, say, real estate property to be tokenized and STOs on? Is that sort of the plans to scale up to be able to handle that those type of assets?
You absolutely could, but again, in the United States, that's just not feasible. So let's say I have lots of real property in the United States. I could say, hey, let me take one of my houses and create an NFT of that house, and let me split it. I don't know, 1,000 ways and sell all those little pieces to a bunch of people. That would be utterly illegal, right? The DOJ is going to come knocking on my door. That is not legal to do unless you have all of the regulatory filings in place. So there's nothing about blockchain that helps with sort of slicing up your piece of real estate and creating pieces that you can't otherwise do in a some other legal way, unless you're going to accredited investors. And then if you go into accredited investors, you're just going to do a 144A. So no, I just in the United States, NFT real estate is just not like it's just not legal. So no, yes, absolutely, Dynamo would do it, but please don't. I mean, because you're going to attract all kinds of like negative regulatory attention to our chain.
Hey,
Because
but the type of tokenization we've been talking about is legal stuff. We're not trying to do illegal NFTs. What we're just talking about is legal securities, and we're talking about doing KYC, AML, and whatever else is necessary through crowdfunding regulations or whatever.
yeah,
And you're saying that blockchain doesn't help with that. What I think it does. Blockchain provides a lot of efficiencies, and we can leverage those efficiencies. If you buy,
how though? Because I'm going to tell you,
let me explain it.
yeah,
Let me explain it.
please.
So, if you're gonna buy and sell a property, let's just say, for the first thing you need to do is list it for sale, and then you hire probably a realtor. Somebody shows up, they make an offer. You go through the escrow process.
Yeah.
You go through the appraisal process, and then you go through closing. You pay title. But if you're tokenizing the property, and it's all the information about the property is in one place, and all you're doing is selling tokens, no one needs to do an appraisal, or at least not every time. Maybe you do it once a year. No one needs to do the continuous escrow for each token. No one needs to do the continuous title for each token because it's all handled automatically in the blockchain. So there are some efficiencies that are realized through the tokenization and through the blockchain.
But in the United States, if you and you know I have run a real estate investment trust, right? So we bought and sold, I don't know, about 200 condos in Phoenix, Arizona, as part of a real estate investment trust in the early 2000s, right? And so, I'm very familiar with sort of the whole fungible, partial ownership thing, right? And it was me and four other guys from Wall Street, and we put a few $100,000 in, and I don't know, we spent, I don't know, $3 or $4 million on these, let's say, 100 condos, right? If I had done that to the general public, that would have been illegal, right? Like you can't offer a fractional ownership in a piece of real estate
Yes, you
to
can.
the general public without an offering. That is illegal.
Well, no, but because you have to follow the regulation. And in fact, there's one of our guys, Jake. Jake is one of the guys. He has a company building custom homes in Wisconsin, I think.
Mm.
He's doing that in the United States. And we have Sarah Jenkins and Hydrochain doing that also. No, I'm sorry, Jake is in Illinois, and Sarah and Hydrochain are in Minnesota or Wisconsin, and they are doing it legally. They are going
Well,
to
but they're probably they're probably registering their
yes,
securities because you have you have all
exactly.
the blue sky laws and all that. But then if you've already gone through all those hoops and you've done all that stuff, what what has the blockchain gained you?
I
Like,
just explained it to you. It's all the efficiencies because every time they sell a token, they don't have to go through hire a broker or hire a title company, hire an escrow. They just sell the token.
no, because if you're gonna transfer title, no.
No, because you're not transferring title. You're investing in the LLC that owns the company.
Okay, but then if that's true and you're an accredited investor, I can just make an entry in an Excel spreadsheet that says, "Oh, okay, you've
You
got."
can, but
Okay, so what's the
blockchain,
difference?
blockchain. I just told you, blockchain provides efficiencies that you don't have with an Excel spreadsheet or a database. You can do automatic payments, right? With Raven Coin.
Eh,
Yes, you can.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not getting it.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe
Okay.
you
uh,
maybe
To
you need to
to
read up a little bit. But yeah,
yeah,
you
that's
can
it.
right.
you
I
can do
get it.
messaging, you can do dividends, you can do KYMC or know your customer.
Yeah,
All of that on the blockchain, right?
I guess. I mean, but I'm not seeing any additional efficiency from just having a central. I mean,
What about the
the whole
fractionalization?
the
The fact that you
promise.
can buy real
Look,
estate in Australia for $100, isn't that something?
the to me, and maybe this is just me. The promise of blockchain is peer-to-peer, anonymous, trustless, borderless transactions. Right. That to me is what the promise of crypto is. And what you're describing is not that. So I don't know. I'm not getting it. But
All
maybe.
right.
Well,
So I missed out on a lot of. Sorry to interrupt, JC and Sean. I want to try to play mediator in this because Sean obviously has his perspective and JC, you have your perspective, and I can definitely see that's not the same thing. Sean, you've had experience in finance and you've done things. Obviously, you've I don't even know the extent of everything you said because I was out of the connection for a good 5 minutes while my phone rebooted. The thing I want to try to play moderator with this is, and not just because I'm co-host, is because I think JC has a point. And I kind of, now that he's explaining it, even though I missed half of what he was saying, it sounds to me like he has something that is valid and possible to actually do that you may not have ever done before. I know I certainly haven't done it, but it sounds interesting to me. And if it's physically, even if it's technically creative finance, and I don't mean illegal creative finance, I just mean new, different creative finance that's just not recognized. I mean, you know finance in New York and Delaware, right? Whereas I don't know if JC lives in those states. And so it may just be a different perspective of how to do finance.
Well, let's take a real world example. Okay, so right, like owner of a condo property in Texas worth, I don't know, let's call it $20 million. It's, I don't know, 200 units generating positive cash flow. Average rents are $800-900 a month. It's a mix of 1 and 2 bedroom, blah blah blah, whatever, right? Like this is very very, and maybe he's mortgaged or not, right? And so he wants to tokenize the ownership of that. I've got a $20 million asset. It's positive cash flow, right? Like this is the perfect thing. Like, let's turn that into an NFT. I'm gonna split it 1,000 ways, and
Not
Sean
not an
Sean
NFT
wants to
though.
say, hey, I want to, I want to buy a piece of that. Like, that's great. Like, you're getting
No,
8-9%
it would be an
return,
asset, right? It would
give
be
me
an
that.
asset, not an NFT.
Give me
But yeah,
that.
right,
Right.
right.
And so he splits it up, and I wanna buy that NFT, right? Like, that's not legal. Like, there is
Not an
no
NFT.
way
Yeah,
in
yeah.
any of the 50 states that's
Sean,
legal. There's no way. There's no
Sean,
way.
just to be clear, just to make it clear, it's not an NFT. An NFT is a unique asset. We're talking about an asset that's divisible, so it's a visible asset. Just to be clear about the crypto side of it. But you're saying that this assetization of this $20 million property in Texas, or property, quote unquote physical fiat based asset, is, you can't do that, is what you're saying.
Well, no, because the promise of Raven, as an example, is, because there is actually a known project. It's in the Philippines. They were looking for, I don't know, $9.5 million to build this resort. It was a total scam, but whatever. Like, the whole idea is, I've got this property that I want to develop into this thing. I'm trying to raise this money. I'm going to sell NFTs, which are completely
Assets,
non-fungible.
assets,
Yes.
not NFTs, but assets. Just be clear to use the right terminology. We're talking about
No, I mean
fungible assets.
on Raven, the idea is NFTs.
But you can do
A
assets on Raven too.
slice.
You can do fungible assets on Raven as well, not
Yes,
just
of
NFTs.
course. But the idea on Raven is you have a slice. So there's a pie
Right.
of whatever, and you have a slice, and the
We're
slice is not
talking about
like,
we're talking not just about assets, but we're talking about securities.
right. No, I agree. There's a
Not
pie, and you have a
not
slice of the pie.
we're
It's
not
not
talking about
like,
we're not talking about illegal securities. We're talking about legal securities.
Okay. Well, all right. Let's assume that they are legal, just so it fits the model that Sean's trying to raise.
Yeah, right. But the idea is, I have this property that's worth $20 million. There's 220 units. It's a mix of 1 and 2 bedroom and something. You're not buying unit 808. You're buying 1% of the whole
Right, a share
thing.
or
It's
10 shares
non-fungible.
or yeah.
It's
Right.
non-fungible. It's a slice of that thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That under U.S. securities law is absolutely illegal unless you register it,
We're
or
talking about
you're doing
registering.
this at 144A. If you're doing it at 144A, that's fine. But
Hey,
if you're offering it to general public, that is 100% illegal. You
but
cannot
we're
do
not
that.
talking about illegal stuff. We're talking about going through the process of making it legal.
But then why?
Okay.
Then if you go through all that shit and you do all that registration, then just make a spreadsheet. Like, why do you need the blockchain? You just make a Google sheet. Like, there's no
Well,
value.
for
There's no value.
efficiency purposes.
No,
Rick, go
there's
ahead.
no. It's less efficient. Then
Okay,
it's less
okay,
efficient. It's less
okay.
efficient.
I guess
It's a
John,
matter of opinion. It's a matter of opinion.
can I just add to the conversation? Obviously, for somebody who's actually tokenizing, we are tokenizing real estate here in Australia.
Right.
And I guess, again, just to make it very clear that in terms of we are tokenizing the Raven coin. We did tokenize the first one on the Ethereum blockchain. The second one thereafter is going to be on the Raven coin blockchain. So the fundamentals are the same. But obviously, the Raven coin provides a lot more efficiency. So probably just to, for someone who actually is tokenizing right here, right now, property on the blockchain, in terms of the ability to access property anywhere in the world and not get banks involved, that's massive. That's a game changer. And over the last 2 years,
Agreed.
there's been a lot of changes with obviously over there in the US with security laws in terms of the ability for people to actually to do that. So it is very much lawful. But in terms of the ability to invest in other countries, that's a game changer because you know what, there's a lot of, as most of you know, there's a lot of foreign ownership rules that comes across different countries, what people can own in other countries. And again, now the blockchain actually resolves that anybody can own any piece of property anywhere in the world via the blockchain. And that's a game changer.
No, I would go so far as
my 2 cents worth, given obviously we are doing it. So obviously I'm pretty much at the cold front of it all.
Yeah, you're dead. In fact, I went and signed up on your site while you guys were talking earlier, and I realized that it says that I need to be a naturalized. I'm not trying to break away from the conversation between JC and Sean. I'm just trying to say, to add to your point, Rick, that you're trying to sign up for the website, and you say I need to be a naturalized citizen, and I need to provide some natural ID, and it's like I don't have an ID I can give you because my passport is expired. I don't even know if my national ID in the U.S. would last or would be effective.
But let's take another real world example, right? So I have a property in upstate New York. It's it's probably worth about $2 million, right? It's rented. It's positive cash flow, and let's say fuck the Americans. Like I'm just gonna take international, right? Like it's not a U.S. security, right? So I'm gonna tokenize it, and I'm gonna sell portions of that. I would love to do that, frankly, right? If I did that, I would be in violation of all kinds of AML BSA laws, right? Because some Russian oligarch could then take a piece of that, and if I don't know who that person is, and if I haven't got collected their social security number or their passport or all that kind of stuff, right? The Department of Justice is going to come knocking on my door saying, "Why are you taking $100,000 from this guy who's on the sanction list?" Right? It just doesn't work. So,
Sean,
in the United States, maybe in Australia, you guys can take Russian investments, and I don't know.
Sean,
but in the United States, forget it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
But man, why are you not listening to what we're saying? We're talking about legal securities going through the KYC process.
Okay, but then if you've done all of that, if you've gone through all that stuff and you've done the registration and you've paid all those fees and you've done all that stuff, what does the blockchain add? It's a zero value add.
For the third time,
there's no add.
Efficiencies.
Nah.
All right.
Okay, you can disagree. It's completely possible to disagree. Sean.
Sorry, there's no add. There's no value add then.
In your opinion, yes. I'm not trying to play either side up, and I'm not experienced enough to know Sean's comprehension or JC's comprehension. I'm never done this myself. I've only owned one house, and I've never tried tokenizing it.
So let me let you then. So just for a quick example, right? When you buy and sell a house, you have to have a realtor, you have to have an escrow company, you have to have a title company.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you don't have to.
Don't have to, but yeah,
you do.
Most people do, right?
But once you have all of that entity, or that property owned by an entity, and all you're doing is selling shares, then you don't have to pay a realtor every time. You don't have to pay a title company every time. You don't have to pay escrow every time. Just that alone, it already reduces your costs.
I already have that.
Sean. Wait. Yeah,
I have that.
let's just let JC finish his example.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay.
Then to that, add the possibility of eliminating the banks, because all of a sudden you have people from the entire world contributing to your project, financing the project. So possibly you get rid of the bank, and if you get rid of the bank, you get rid of interests, and
Right.
then the automation that comes from the blockchain, at least with Ravencoin, you can do automatic distributions to token holders pro rata. And you can also do messaging like, hey guys, we have an offer to sell this because somebody wants to build a mall. I'm going to send you a message right now via tokens, and you guys can reply. And if the vote is yes, we'll sell it. So there's some automation that I think is common sense, but I guess I've said that enough. Thank you.
Right. No, I thank you, JC. Sean has a very different perspective on this because he's been doing it a different way for a long time, and so he doesn't know what you guys have been doing, and it's probably just new to him that he's frustrated over what you're saying. But I will say that my experience, limited as it may be, when I was start getting into insurance, I went and tried to get the ability to sell insurance. I can't remember what they call it in California, but there's a license you get in order to sell insurance, and I did all the training, so I at least have that experience. But the contrast I'm saying, to speak to Sean's level of comprehension on this, as far as I know, I can see why he would be skeptical of what you said, JC. And in my experience, limited as it may be, I would say that I can see why the U.S. government would say that's not legit. Now, I don't understand what you're saying, and I need to look into the laws that surround it so I can understand it better, so I can see what it is you're doing. Because honestly, it sounds really interesting. If it's possible, I'd like to know more. And you're saying it is possible, so I'd still like to know more. But what I want to get at with this is that I can see how the U.S. government, and I'm going to give a different example, ironically, $20 million, that the previous president, Trump, did with a particular Russian oligarch long before he was president. And that was, he sold a property on Long Island for a lot more than the going rate. Now, I'm not saying a person can't buy a house for more than the going rate, but it would seem kind of dumb, in my opinion. Why would you ever buy a house for more than even just close to market rate? Let's say 10% over market rate, $22 million. He paid a lot more than $22 million for that house. And that particular sale is still under scrutiny from the US, from the Fed, because they're saying it's money laundering. And they're saying it because the payment was like $32 or $36 million instead of the $20 million that the house was actually being asked for. And at that point, you're like, okay, well, why did you pay so much more for a house that you could have paid less for? Like, why would you do that? That just seems dumb, unless there's some ulterior motive. And that's the thing that I can see Sean getting at is, yes, you could sell this to a foreign entity. Maybe you didn't know they were Russian. Maybe they're just anybody from random address on the internet, right? Because that the anonymous nature of blockchain is that you don't need to know who owns that address. So it's just random people on the internet through blockchain that are buying that asset from you in pieces. The problem is, and this is my understanding of the way the US government works, is they're jealous. Governments in general are jealous. They don't like not knowing what people are doing, even though people are constantly doing things under the radar every single day. The government's very, very jealous, and they want to know what money you're making. Now, personally, I don't give a shit what the government thinks. I know Uncle Sam doesn't like that opinion. And I know that they've made laws to try to prevent people from doing that exact thing. And I think that's what Sean is arguing, that there are laws that say you can't do it. It's like accredited and non-accredited investors. I'm not an accredited investor. I don't make enough money. I don't have enough assets. I can't be accredited. But they set up these rules a long time ago that say that you have to be accredited to buy large, expensive things. I think it's dumb, but that's how the rules work, unfortunately.
So I'm not an attorney, and I haven't really studied the exact mechanisms, but you can do an exemption. Basically, you can say, I'm going to do crowdfunding, but I'm going to do an exemption because
private investing. Right.
I'm only going after a very small market, like really my friends and my relatives, right?
Yep.
Or you can say, hey, I'm going to go bigger. I'm going to go only 1,000 people. or you can say I'm gonna do it to I'm gonna be able to offer to anybody. But if you do that, now you have to do a lot. Every time you do more, you reach out to more people, then you have to do more accreditation, or
Yes,
you have to
yes,
jump through more hoops, right? But it
exactly.
doesn't mean that it can't be done. It just needs to be done legally. And yes, there's an expense, and yes, it takes time. But there are certain thresholds that are not as expensive, especially for like small investors or small companies.
Okay, Sean.
By the way,
Sorry, sorry.
I just DM'd you guys an article I wrote about real estate tokenization. I know, Sean, you're probably not gonna like it, but it does not touch on the KYMC stuff. Know your customer. It doesn't touch on the legal stuff. It only touches on the efficiencies and that kind of stuff.
Okay. Thank you, Casey. You guys still hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, it's not showing on my app anymore that my voice is being heard. My phone is getting very hot. It's not appreciating the fact that we've been on this chat for so long. I think that's the reason it died earlier. But what I wanted to say with this whole thing in general is I feel like I've learned something, and I feel like I need to learn a lot more. And I feel like I was trying to defend Sean earlier to JC because I ironically couldn't give the explicit tokenization use case for Dynamo. I just knew that the people involved in Dynamo were good people, and that I thought that was, it's not really a use case, it's just an example. The reason I really like Dynamo is my friend M, who's been involved and would still like to remain anonymous, although I know Sean knows his real name. M had said that the reason he really liked Dynamo was because of the people behind it. And in that sense, I believed him because I too believe in what M has done, and M and I are pretty good friends. But in seeing the other people I've seen involved, like in particular the the board of Dynamo, I've looked at all their LinkedIn profiles as much as I can see. I've looked at what they've done and who they are, and I think of all the people involved in the project as being people who are interested in the project in itself and not what money they can make out of it. They don't seem like they're like, I'm just on the board to make money or to make myself look good. I don't see that being the case. Now, I'm not saying that's necessarily not true about Raven. The people involved in Raven don't seem to be just involved in it for the money. They seem involved to it for the purpose. And so I'm not trying to defame Raven at all for that point. But I will say that in my discussions with Tron, not one-on-one, but in talking to him, it seemed like my concerns were not his concerns, and it felt like he was just pushing me away, the same way that Sean was pushed away too in the beginning. So I feel like even though I'm not trying to put Ravencoin down, and I still see it has its purpose, and it definitely does, tokenization. I see Dynamo as multi-purpose in its end game and what it's going to do and what it can do. And it's still a budding project, not nearly as far along as Raven is. So that's all I got to say about that.
I want to make let me just say a couple of things. I'm sorry. I don't want to to discount the ability to tokenize real estate in any way. Like, I love the idea. I wish that the United States would figure out some way that the average investor could, I don't know, invest $100 or $200 or $300 in some other real estate project, because that would disintermediate so many other like large, like let's call it families, right? Like all of these families that own all of these just huge real estate projects, right? There are so many people in the United States that control so much of the real estate, which is a large sort of I don't know, social sort of stratification thing, right? Like if you own real estate, that makes the difference between a renter and an owner, right? And if people could like get in on that, if real people could get in on that at the ground level for, I don't know, $500, $1,000, I think that would be awesome, right? Like that to me is really like a huge sort of equalizer in terms of shifting the balance of capital and creating like social equity. I love it. I love the idea of that. And I really, really, really want to make that happen. For me personally, if I was to take any one of my houses and try to like fractionalize it, I would be subjecting myself to like, the Department of Justice showing up on my front door saying, "What the fuck are you doing?" Right? So I so I don't I don't want that. I wish though that with all the Democrats in Congress, like they should figure this shit out. Like they should be able to like make this happen. So I'm not at all opposed to that. I love the idea of being able to create fractional ownership. So I just want to go on record and saying this is part of what I hope the promise of crypto is the average person being able to buy a piece of a condo complex as opposed to all these American oligarchs, owning this stuff.
To your point, Sean, and I appreciate it. Thank you for making that point. I'm glad that you're not against what JC is saying, even if JC believes that it is possible and has already done it, just like Brick has. But Brick is in Australia. Let's assume that it is possible, even though you say it's not, and you seem to have proof that it's not. That's the reason you haven't done it. The example I was thinking of was there's two apps that I personally have invested in lately, and I am not a high-end investor. I might have, if I were to estimate my entire value of crypto, $10,000. I'm guessing. I don't really know. But my total personal value for like all the things I own, not including my business, but me personally, is probably 10 grand. So I don't have anywhere near the amount of money that I think you have. You just admitted to having 2 million. So there's a program called Fundrise and a program called Concrete, REIT, Concrete. And both of these allow you to invest in fractional amounts of money. Like, I'll literally have like maybe $1,000 split between the two companies. They're not crypto companies, and they let you do exactly what JC is talking about, but they're doing it through fiat and not through crypto.
Right. But again, the promise of crypto is P2P, right? You have $100. The guy who is buying a property, who owns a property, needs $100, and there's no one in between, right? The promise of crypto is to disintermediate all of those people, to take out, right? The promise of crypto, take out Fiverr, take out Upwork, take out Zillow, take out real estate agents, take out all of those guys in between who are theoretically no value add other than, right? There is a value add of buyers and sellers, but if we can create marketplaces on chain where buyers and sellers can meet without any person in between, that is the promise of crypto.
Agreed. What Casey, what were you going to say? JC, sorry.
Oh, yeah, I just sent you guys a video. It's 43 minutes long or something, but it's a really good video on a guy tokenizing real estate in the United States. I think he was one of the first ones, actually. Probably not the first one, but certainly he's doing it, expanding it, and the video is very educational. Also, I wanted to mention that, Sean, you make an excellent point about peer-to-peer, and that is one of the things that I keep on coming back to. Is even this guy, the video that I just sent you, does not recognize the potential of peer-to-peer, at least not from the video that I watched. And even some of the great best innovators in blockchain and real estate, in the real estate market, tokenization market, really don't recognize that peer-to-peer possibility. But one guy who does is Jake Menard, and that's the guy that I was telling you that he's in Illinois. He's tokenizing.
What's the name? Jake Menard?
Jake Menard 3, I think is his handle. He's tokenizing custom homes in Illinois. But what he did is he went to DG Shares. You probably heard of DG Shares. DG Shares is a platform that helps people tokenize things, real estate primarily.
Yep.
And they are familiar with the regulatory compliance requirements in the United States, and they're familiar with Ravencoin. And he went to them and say, hey, I want to be able to do everything you normally do with real estate and T0 and all kind of stuff, but I also want the peer-to-peer transactions. Is that possible? And my understanding is that he was told yes. And the reason why that can be done is because you would have tagged owners and tagged identities where they are KYC compliant.
Mm.
and the token can only be transferred to KYC compliant wallets. The I think there's a lot more to be done, but I think the promise is there. I don't think anybody's done it yet, but even then, it's not going to be, even if it could be peer to peer, it can't be anonymous because the two just won't go hand in hand.
It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It just
Yeah, it
doesn't work.
can't because
Yeah.
either either you do KYC or you don't, right? So it's
Right.
not going to be anonymous.
Right. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So I think that's sort of one of the fundamental tensions between I have a house, right? I'm Joe Schmo. I have a house in, I don't know, Illinois, right? And I'm renting it out, and I'm making $2,000 a month in rent. My mortgage is, I don't know, 1,300. My taxes are this. My taxes are that. I want to fractionalize my house because it's worth maybe $300,000 or $400,000, and I want to cash out. Like I want to get that money, and I want to create an NFT off of that, right? So I'm just going to sell out my house for $400,000, and I'm going to
Not an NFT.
say again.
he keeps getting on the case. It's not an NFT we're talking about. NFTs are unique. Assets are the
Well,
one that's divisible. So
no. Let's call it. Let's call it 1001 Happy Valley Way, right? That's my house. It's rented out. It's cash positive. I'm paying my mortgage. Or I'm doing this thing, but now I'm an owner, and as the owner of 1001 Happy Valley Way, I want to cut my house, I don't know, 1,000 ways, right? It's worth, I don't know, let's call it $500,000, right? I want to cut my house 100 ways, $500 each. I want to split it up and sell it to whoever for $500,000, and I want to get my $500,000 today, right? How do you do that on the blockchain? Right?
You don't. You don't. You don't
You
do
don't.
that.
That's what I'm saying. You don't.
No,
You can't.
you don't do that. If you want to sell your house, you just sell your house.
But then you go to the traditional broker and blah blah blah, and your cash flow, and I have this rental and all this bullshit, right? That's what I'm saying. So the blockchain
But
is
here's
not.
the thing, though, is if you didn't want to get rid of the house, if you just want to tokenize it for
That's what
whatever
I'm saying.
reason,
Yes, right. No, and
then
I don't want to get rid of it. I want to tokenize it. I want to sell it into 100 pieces of $500 each, and get my $500,000 out of it, right? I want to collect my
are
$500,000
you gonna have any
today.
ownership? Do you want to have any ownership on the home when you're
Nope,
done?
nope.
Yeah, then you
Nope.
don't. Then you then you just go the traditional way. You just call me and say, "Hey, Geronimo, I got a great deal, and I'll buy it from you."
Right.
But anybody that wants to tokenize for multiple reasons, and the video that I shared with you is probably a really good place to start. One of the things that it does is it provides liquidity. So
Yeah.
if I want to invest, say $20,000 in real estate, first of
Right.
all, it's hard to do that nowadays, right? I'll just invest 20,000, but through tokenization you can. So let's say I invest 20,000 in real estate, and then, a week later, I have an emergency and I'm like, crap, I really need that money. I wish I hadn't invested it, because they're tokens, and because that's what the whole goal of this ecosystem is. You can sell the tokens in a marketplace and get your money back. Maybe not the same amount of money. Maybe instead of 20,000, I get 19,000. But that's the liquidity that tokenization brings to real estate that does not exist now.
Whoa, dude.
No, it's true.
That absolutely exists now. It's called the ABS market. Okay, that absolutely exists now. Asset-backed securities is a bajillion-dollar market, and that has existed for the last 40 years. So no,
Yeah, but it's not
that
available to
exists
you and
right
me.
now. No,
Right. Well, it's available to accredited investors, not to non-accredited investors,
dude,
which is the point we're making.
that has existed for time and eternity. By the way, no. So do not say that does not exist now.
Wait, but are you saying it's accredited or not accredited, or is it both?
It's accredited investors. Oh, of course, but what he's talking about is accredited investors, unless you're going to do all your KYC AML shit, right? And you're going to register. Are you going to register your security offering? It's going to cost you $2 million.
No,
Forget
not
it.
2 million, not 2 million. But yes, that's the goal.
What no? What do you think? What do you think it costs to register a security with the SEC?
Again, there's different levels, right? There's Reg D, Reg what is it called? CB or
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
I
but
mean,
you're gonna offer it to the public. What if you're gonna offer your security to the public? What do you think it's gonna cost?
not 2 million.
Of course, it's $2 million. Come on,
No, dude.
dude, please. I've done it. Okay, I've already done it.
No, again, you're talking about different levels, right? At which level are you going? Are you going to offer only to your friends and family? That doesn't require as much scrutiny as if you're going to offer it to everybody in the world.
A 144A, I could do it tomorrow for like $2,000. Of course, yeah. Accredited investors is nothing. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Well, that's what we've been talking about. Accredited investors. That's why I keep on saying KYC AML.
Yes. Okay. So if you have if you're worth, your net worth is 2 million, or your yearly income is 250,000 or whatever it is. Yes, of course. You can do a 144A, no problem.
And
of
that's
course.
one
Anybody
option.
can do that.
It doesn't have to be that option, right? It could be any of the other legal options.
I guess. I don't know. Jake Menard looks a little bit like a scammer, to be honest. I'm gonna hit him up. I will. I'm just gonna tell you my first impression. He's got laser eyes with a lot of sort of interesting tweets.
You mean laser eyes like what Blockchain John and Michael Saylor have?
Yes. Jake Menard is a very interesting. Is a very interesting person. But I'm going to reserve judgment. I will hit him up. I'll ask him for a phone call.
You're gonna be,
and we'll see what he says.
You make a believer, JC.
Dwell Holmes is his Dwell Holmes. Yes.
Yeah, Jake Menard is a pretty standout guy. I think you'll be positively surprised. Maybe his image is not as what you expected, but he's a standout guy.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm going to reach out to him and see what's going on.
It's the perfect way to end it right there. We're going to get ready to wrap it up. Any last words? Any shout outs? Any goodbyes?
Sorry to keep you up so late, Sean.
No, it's good. It's good. I'm always up late.
Yeah, same here.
All right, then. All right. So, I don't know. We'll probably do this next week. What do you think, Jabarelli?
Yeah. No,
it was fun, man.
I mean, we did get a little off track, but I mean, we did still stick to Raven and Dynamo, and it's good to have Sean on the chat. I haven't gotten to talk to him in quite a while, actually, so it's good.
Yeah. So. Sorry. We the family dog.
Yeah, your dog. I remember.
He got a very bad diagnosis, brain tumor, inoperable brain tumor, and unfortunately he died last night. So it was.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So it sucks. It fucking sucks. But whatever.
Yep.
Yep. So yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
Does
I've
anybody
been
have
I've been a
anything
little bit
positive?
offline. Sorry.
No problem. It's good to hear you again. So yeah,
Yep.
I completely understand. It's a rough time to
Yep.
have to deal with that family member dying. So
Yep. Yep.
anyways, you were saying, John?
Yeah, can we end on a positive note? Just thank you all for joining us, and I hope to see you guys next week. Let's try to get Tron on here next time. Yeah. All right, Morgan. Yeah, you came late to the party. We were about almost 2.5 hours into this. We're gonna wrap it up now, and I'll probably come back next week. So, with that said, thanks everybody for showing up. See you guys next week, and see what the topic is next week. Probably something like the market is on fire. What to
Oh
do?
God, I hope so. God, I hope so.
All right, guys. I'll see
Please.
you. All right. See ya. Bye.
Peace.